Hello everyone, thank you very much for joining me. So, in case you didn't know, I haven't done this in a while, but my name is Todd Bryson. I'm an Akashic Records practitioner. I assist old souls in navigating and overcoming obstacles on the awakening path, and I help reveal and retrieve Akashic inheritance. So a little bit about me if you're new. Thanks for joining me. So, in this video, I'm going to talk about the big decisions that you're being asked to make and, how to navigate making those decisions and how to reveal the timing of making those decisions. And there's a lot that goes into it. And, I've said before, old souls and light workers are big dreamers. We have big goals. We have big expectations because we are beginning a process of exploring our experience without limitation. Those big dreams come with big decisions, and that's part of the experience. We spend a lot of time making decisions because we are cleaning up the mess that we made in a less empowered state. All divine timed and all learning experiences that are valuable in making us who we are now, but decisions that needed to be made nonetheless. So, old souls know that change is possible, and we feel a moral obligation to act and generate those changes because we want to live in a world where the internal reality is reflected outside of us. So we know that if we make changes to ourselves, if we better ourselves, the better the external world will be as a result. We aren't afraid of our power. We know what we're capable of, and we thrive in those conditions. So it's likely that right now you are facing a decision point if you're on the path of awakening, if you are an old soul that is waking up and remembering who they are and what they're capable of. And, those decisions range from ending marriages, changing jobs, starting businesses. We study our experience and we review our reality and we determine what needs to go and what we would like to stay. And there's a team involved in that process and supporting you in, revealing those things. So some things end, some things begin, and that is the natural state of the universe, and we are working within that natural flow. But change is hard. It is hard to ruffle the feathers in this place. It's hard to cast a stone into, a glassed lake. And it's even harder to put ourselves out there and uproot our reality when there's other people's realities involved as well. So maybe you have kids involved, maybe you have a partner involved, maybe you have relationships that depend on this decision for the better or for the worse. But we would rather face those decisions than feel stuck, or at least that's the way it's supposed to be. The issue we run into is being indecisive and unfamiliar with the intuitive impression and what it is telling us in regards to that change or in regard to that decision we're trying to make. So you're asking for guidance, you're asking for assistance, you're asking for clarity, and by the time all of that clarity and assistance gets to you, the ego has already had its way with it and is starting to give you the what ifs or but this, but that. It's what the ego is good at. So if you are in a situation right now where you are having trouble making a decision, let's get into the nuts and bolts and the inner working of that decision and the intuition that is prompting that decision and reveal how to identify the correct course of action to take. Because it's a lot clearer and it's a lot easier than the mind would make it seem. Taking action is an entirely different story, but you can decide in the moment right now what is right for you and what is not with clarity and confidence. So let's get into it. So the guides are behind the scenes. They see the situation you're in, they see the potentials in the field, and then they prompt you with a decision. So we mentioned a few videos ago that there's a difference between informative intuition and actionable intuition. In this video, we are discussing actionable intuition because that is what is most prominent for people right now. We're facing a lot of decision points throughout the collective. So we can no longer dabble in both energies. We have to choose sides. Are we going to go back and participate in the illusion, or are we going to move on to the fifth dimensional version of ourselves, creating and facilitating the development of the new earth for everybody on the surface and everybody within the earth as well? So the guides have sent you an intuitive impression on a decision that needs to be made and the right course of action to take. And here's where you come in. Here's where the human filters come in. Here's where the psyche and the subconsciousness and the Akashic even come into play. So like I said, there's a lot going on behind the scenes in those intuitive moments. There's a council of aspects of us that are contributing to what the best course of action is to take. But you should know that all of these pieces of you are only consultants. They're only advisors. They're going to bring you situations and scenarios. They're going to explore potential and possibility from all angles of that decision that needs to be made. And that's fine. It's great that they do that. It allows us to make informed, educated decisions that are truly right for us. And we should be grateful for those systems and everything that they do, even if they make us feel contradicted in what we're trying to accomplish. So there's something you should be doing, there's big changes to make, but the guides can't seem to get you clear enough or confident enough to take the necessary steps to manifest that action into being. So let's take an even deeper look at what that intuition is communicating to you. So that intuition is either telling you, yes, this is the right course of action to take, you should do this. And the mind in an indecisive state is doubting that intuition. Or the intuition is telling you, no, this is not something you should act on, or even you should act on this, but you should wait for another time. And then the mind and all of these other pieces of you designed to maintain the illusion are chiming in and creating confusion. All of that stuff that we don't want, fear, resistance, we rehearse what could go wrong. All of those factors come into play, but that decision that you needed to make was in alignment with your highest potential, and the guides need you to go down that road anyway. Well, basically then they make you increasingly uncomfortable until the circumstance kind of dominoes in the direction that it was meant to, on your behalf, without your participation. And it's pretty much like you can't keep your hand on a hot stove forever. But what can you really do? There seems to not be clarity enough for you to make an informed, comfortable decision. So how do you put yourself out there, trusting the unseen, trusting the guides and the inner workings of this experience, to the point where you can seamlessly and elegantly take the action that you need without resistance and without fear playing a factor at all? So there have been some key words in discussing this decision point and this intuition, and I've mentioned a few times the words resistance and fear. If intuitively you are being given fear around the results, and that is the persistent discussion that's happening around that decision, then that is the guides telling you no, do not do that, or it's not time to do that. So fear around the results in form of precognition, in seeing what the results will be ahead of making that decision, that is the guides telling you no, do not make that decision. Which is obviously something you should listen to, and there should be really no second guessing involved. So if your fear is around taking the action itself, meaning putting ourselves out there, breaking that comfortable seal of the comfort zone, and initiating the process of change, if your fear is around the process of change or the initial action, then that is an intuition that is coming from the guides that they are telling you to go through with. So they'll show you your potential, they'll get you excited about specific results, but you can't seem to go through with it because the action itself is one that may require you to feel vulnerable or to engage in this experience in a way that you're not comfortable with. So if your fear is around the action itself, you should go ahead and make that decision, and you should do it as fast as possible. If the fear is around the results that that action might produce, that is the intuition telling you no, that you should hold off or you should do it at another time. So those emotions carry a specific frequency that you can read very easily, that you're already reading. You're just kind of processing it through the mind and trying to make sense of it, when the mind can't really do that. So the frequency of fear, the frequency of resistance, the frequency of missing out or losing potential or going off path, those things are very recognizable within your field. Very easy for you to translate, very easy for you to study and take into consideration. But the frequency of love, success, and fulfilling your potential are much more comfortable and much more understandable, but harder to take action on, because it kind of contradicts the experience we're having. If you're still having trouble making a decision after making these, after distinguishing between the two, remember that the ego, the mind, and your current circumstances are only consultants. What you need to do within your authority as a CEO of this experience in this body is consult with the higher self, allow the guidance to come through clearly, see the results without judgment, without absorbing them and producing emotions from them, staying impartial and neutral. And when you do decide to make that decision, it will be made at the right place, at the right time, in perfect divine timing, like it always is, because that divine timing is completely dependent on your ability to create and your trust in yourself and your knowledge of your manifestation power. So the right timing is based on where you are and what your consciousness level is at and what your vibrational level is at. So there are a lot of things that factor into the process of change, some comfortable, some uncomfortable. We should all be excited about pursuing the unknown regardless. And you have to remember that the linear mind wants to know and rehearse every in and out and every detail about the result of that change or the consequences of that action, because it doesn't have the overview that the soul does. But you have knowledge of that overview, and you have knowledge of your guides and what they can do on your behalf. So what you need to do is trust them to do their work, give intent in the way that you know how, and let the universe do its thing. Anyway, thank you very much, you guys. I've been doing a lot of sessions lately, and I'm leveling up. And we've had a lot of breakthroughs in session. And, I'm very blessed to be doing this work. And I just wish you all the same fulfillment in your creative ventures. Thank you very much, you guys.